welcome to another episode of Ask Earl Anything. And today's episode, I've got 4 questions today, and I want to jump right on into them. Again, remember, if you enjoy this segment and you have a question for me, place the comment in this particular video, and I will answer it on the next segment of the show. Alright, now these are in no particular order, of course. The first one comes from Kride Drummer, Kride Drummer. Have you ever tried pitch change to get around the YouTube copyrights? That's a great question. I did a cover of 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, my first version of it, and I tried the pitch change to try to get around the YouTube copyrights, and it didn't work. They called me out on both of them. It looked like I was getting 2 strikes that day. I ended up getting no strikes for it, but they threatened me pretty hard the first time it was the first time I was ever threatened by YouTube, where I got that threatening email. You know, you have it was like it's like the FBI one that comes in when you get on the wrong website, and all of a sudden you got FBI there. You know, like you've hit something bad. I thought, oh gosh, I'm going to get thrown off YouTube for this stupid copyright thing. But in actuality, one of the things I always do with my videos is they go in private first. So I never put anything directly to YouTube. Everything goes in private. That way I know it's going to show or not going to show, and I can see the copyright problems. So maybe that's why I didn't get any strikes for it. I don't know. And I deleted both those videos. Even though there was a threatening notification that came up with that. Even if you delete these, you're still going to get your strikes kind of thing. But YouTube's pretty weird. That's all I say. And they're pretty tough on us drummers. They're just trying to play covers. But anyhow, the pitch change thing didn't work for me. I don't like the way the song sounds when you pitch change. And my experience, it hasn't worked. So that's it. But I have a song that's just sitting there I wish I could do. It was a Bob Dylan song, and I couldn't get it on. I didn't try pitch changing it. Maybe I'll get some nerve one day and just remix it with a pitch changed track. Who knows? Alright. Second question. Aqua, you like this show. You do this is the 3rd week in a row you've got on the show. Playing live, this is a personal question, and you asked me to answer it. Playing live, I feel awful that other drummers are judging me. Is this something I can overcome? Well, first off, I think we can all overcome those things, but it takes a really strong person to overcome those things. And that means you've got to basically say to yourself, hey, I'm doing the best I can, and I'm not going to let other drummers affect me. And I don't know how you build that up. For me, as a kid, I had that in me. I remember being in high school and not accepted by certain people, and it was the thing that pushed me over the edge to keep going further with myself and not allowing myself to get discouraged. So I don't know what that was. In me, I have that. You know, I have this attitude like, well, if you don't like it, too bad. That's why I'm on YouTube, to be honest. Because if I really cared what people thought about what I do here on YouTube, then I'd have a problem. So you have to have an attitude that basically says, hey, I'm doing the best I can. Now, that doesn't mean I don't feel remorseful when I screw up a part, or if I'm on a gig and I make a mistake. I do. I'm human like that. But when it comes to letting other people affect me by what they're thinking about me or saying about me outside of here, no, I can't live in that world. That's not the world I can live in. I have to live in the world knowing I did the best I could. So as long as you know you did the best you could, then you got to hold your head up high and walk forward. Now, can we learn from others that are better than us? All the time. Matter of fact, my greatest gigs were gigs where I was playing with musicians that were much better than me. And what does that do to my playing? It raises my bar. So I always love being on gigs where I've got musicians that play better than me. And that's a treat to me. To play with guys that are another notch higher has always been something that brings my playing up to another level. Okay? But to do music professionally and to get gigs and to play on other bandstands with people you've never played with before, like I have done, and I started that when I was about 19 years old in college, 18, 19 years old, required having the confidence to walk into the gig and say, I play like I play, I do the best I can. Now, use your ears, okay? Your ears are important. Use your ears, but you've got to have confidence. And for a drummer, confidence is the most important aspect of being a drummer. I don't know if I've ever said this on any of my things that I say here, but it's been said. You know, you can have a really good band with a mediocre drummer, and they're just a really mediocre band. But you could take a really mediocre band and put a great drummer in the seat, one that has confidence and exudes good time and knows where things are going and can push the band, and you get a great band. And I actually have an experience that I'm going to share with you. I played a gig called Psychobilly. Now, I don't know if any of you guys ever heard of it. Psychobilly is kind of like a cross between the Stray Cats and Metallica. Okay, think of the Stray Cats. Doom 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 doom. There they had this kind of like rockabilly thing going on with Brian Setzer, the Stray Cats, right? Now playing that at boom. Like rocking, really loud, really fast, really aggressive. Psychobilly. I had this Psychobilly gig, and I did the gig with I was about 37 or 38 at the time. The guys I was playing with was about 25, and he had a bass player that was 19. Okay, and she was the show. She was a terrible bass player. But she was the show, because she was playing an upright bass and she had a mini skirt on and she was climbing on top of the bass, slapping it and bleeding. Because the way she was hitting so hard, she was bleeding her fingers. She was the show for the band. But the bartender in this bar where we were playing at came up to me and said, you know, the band has never sounded any better with anybody but you. Because the drummer that I was replacing on that gig that day, that drummer's time was all over the place. I heard the demo. It was terrible. But I came in, played it aggressively, and I didn't even know what I was playing. I was just basically jamming with these guys. I had one rehearsal, and that was it with the guitar player. Confidence means a lot. Even if you're playing something you don't even know how to play. I'm not a Psychobilly drummer, but I've done some really strange gigs. That was one of the strangest gigs I've ever done. Confidence has to come out of you as a drummer, so you have to let those kinds of things roll off your back. You've got to let them roll right off your back. And if I see drummers standing in the corner talking about me, that's fine. I don't care. Hopefully they got the nerve to come up to me and talk to me and we can have a conversation. They might find out I'm a pretty cool guy. So the last two questions from Leonard Smith. He said, if you could play alongside any drummer, who would you choose? So I assume what you're asking me is, if I could play double drums with somebody like the Doobie Brothers or the Allman Brothers. Now, I have played double drums with another drummer once, and I didn't find it to be that much fun, to be honest. I like driving the band, and I don't really like having to work in with other drummers. It's finding parts. Even percussionists, if you don't have a really tasty percussionist, it can be a really tough gig. I've played some gigs with percussionists that just want to be the leader of the gig, and they're playing all over the place, and you just basically want to smack them, because it's like, dude, everybody's hanging on what I'm playing and you're trying to push things. So if you got a cool percussionist though, guy who does salt and pepper, you know, puts a little salt and pepper here, puts a little spice over here, you know, knows when to come in with the conga parts, knows when to put the tambourine down, it's great. So playing with another drummer, you've got to lock your backbeats. All your backbeats have to lock. You don't want to flam. And I've seen some great drummers that can do that together. Okay? So when you watch great drummers play together, it's only because they've got that courtesy to work with one another. I guess if I was going to work with any drummer that's a great double drummer, I'd like to work with Jim Keltner. He'd be an awesome guy to work with, because Jim Keltner knows how to work with other drummers. He's done it with Delaney and Bonnie. He did it with Jim Gordon. I saw him do it with Ringo Starr's band, okay, with Ringo. I think Greg Bissonette can do it too. Greg Bissonette does a great job with Ringo's band. But as far as bands I'd like to play with, I'd like to play with Chicago. You know, and I guess if I could sit next to Danny Seraphim with the real Chicago, that would be kind of cool. Notice I said the real Chicago, that the real guys, the first group of guys, not the band they are today. That would be kind of fun. But it's really, that's about it. I don't know if I answer that question properly or not. You let me know, okay? Definitely let me know. You had one other question, and I'm taking this out of my jazz video. But I thought the question was good enough to be on Ask Earl Anything, so I brought it over. And the question was, do I use the same sticks for jazz and rock? And the answer to that question is sometimes. Depends on what I'm doing. I did a video recently where I was playing over at that kit, and I was playing different sticks. Okay, there were these maple Pro March sticks. The next time I went to do another jazz video at the other kit, I pulled out the Steve Gadd sticks. Now my thing is I have lots of different sticks. You never know what sticks I'm going to pull out, what's going to come out in my hands. This is a true line stick with a bulb on it, which I eventually I think I talked about one of my videos. I know I talked about one of my videos, maybe not one that you've seen yet, but I think that was the one I talked about in my last stick bag video. Yeah. So that's got the bulb. This is the regular 5A. I like 5As for the most part. My favorite stick is a Vader Fusion, which is like a 5A with a little ball tip on it. But now that drumsticks are so expensive, I don't want to spend money on them, so I'll just buy the local 5A, whatever the 5A is. So the Vader 5A is usually on special at Guitar Center. I have a Guitar Center in town. I have to go about 50 minutes to get to a Sam Ash. I had to go over an hour to get to a good drum shop like Resurrection Drums. So a lot of times if I'm going to buy sticks in town, it's going to be the local Guitar Center, which isn't so great. But they do have the Vader sticks, usually 4 for $27 or 4 for $25 depending on the week. So 4 pairs of LA 5As works great. I think I can play any songs with a 5A. Jazz, rock, doesn't really matter. But there are times you want to use a lighter stick, but I don't tend to use a lighter stick to do that. I use a lighter stick to get a different effect. I guess that would be what I would say to you. It's like, I can get soft with any stick, you know. Now I get the soft thing out of it playing with any stick, but the thing for me is I want a stick to feel right in my hands. So the thing that affects a stick feeling right in my hands is the length of the stick. So like when I use this stick right here, it's a little bit longer, like 1/8 of an inch longer. And to be honest, that throws me off sometimes, even though I like these sticks with the bulbs. I like a 16-inch long stick. I can go shorter, but once it gets longer than 16 inches, that throws me off. The other thing is the weighting of the stick. It's got to be a little bit heavier weighted to the front, okay, and that's when I'm more likely to play both tip sides. That's why a lot of times I flip the stick around, is because of the weighting. I'm kind of used to the weighting of a heavier weight on my left hand. It helps me, I guess. So it makes it work, you know. But sticks are really kind of funny things, and I'm not stuck on any stick, but I would say my preference is a 5A. Every once in a while I'll play a 5B and I realize how much I don't like 5Bs because they're too heavy. And of course if I'm playing some stick that's really long, it really bothers me. So 16 inches long, 5A is usually the stick of choice for me. Okay? So I hope that answers that question. I hope you enjoyed this segment of Ask Earl Anything. It's a little bit shorter than the last couple, but that's probably a good thing. And I hope you come back next week and ask some questions for next week's show. And if there's no questions for next week's show, I might make some up. I'll just keep blaming the same guys. No, I promise I won't do that. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Have a great day.